Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Ultracore for the Sega Genesis, developed by Digital Illusions and cancelled in 1994. Apparently this game was originally called Hardcore, and it was 99% finished before they cancelled the game. Years later it was finally released. It first was a pack-in game for the Mega SG console, which is what I'm playing it on here. It was also ported to a few other of the modern consoles. I'm pretty sure you can grab this one for Switch, PS4, and the Vita. There's no save function in this game, so you have to get level codes at the end of the level when you complete it. Write these down and pay attention to the codes that you're looking at on screen. The first one I got I wrote down incorrectly apparently, and I couldn't start where I left off. This is very useful to lock in your level progress, so take care with the code. The font that they use here, it can be a little confusing for certain letters, especially if you just glance at the screen, so just double check and be careful. I always play games on normal first, to make sure that I'm getting the standard experience. This one, on normal, it gives you 5 lives, which I think is pretty generous. You also have, I believe, 3 continues. You have a health bar in this one that you can refill as you go by picking up heart icons, or if you're at a terminal, you might be able to buy health. Early on, when I was running around like a madman, I was eating through my life like you wouldn't believe. But after a while with this one, you tend to sort of taper back a little bit, and you become a little more thoughtful in your approach. So this is a run-and-gun shooter, and you're navigating through a big maze basically, picking up key cards and opening doors and shooting things to progress. It kinda has the feel of a few different games, or maybe types of games, and the thing is, they're all from good games. This one does take advantage of a 6-button controller, which is great, so you can trigger a Mega Bomb or switch to an alternate weapon by pressing a button, as opposed to a button keypad combo. So first, the music here is this awesome late 80s, early 90s synth action music. This is the type of music I'd expect from a Commodore 64 actually, which was a system that was really well known for this type of music. There were plenty of good games that had really great sounding music similar to this. Here we have a science fiction, future, action, movie, music type of a deal here, and I think it works really well. The color palette seems to fit here too. For some reason, the palette reminds me of Metal Slug in this regard. I also suppose it could be a bit of the way that the animation is styled here, although your characters are certainly taller than in Metal Slug. Your character has a really smooth run animation, and it looks pretty great on screen. In this one, you can bounce off the top of enemies, like you were in Mario Brothers, and it's something that you actually have to do from time to time to get across gaps. I'm not that skilled at this game yet, so I find myself doing it accidentally. But there are a few places where you actually have to use this as a method to move from one place to another. Kind of like Castlevania, some of the walls here are going to be destructive. Sometimes you can tell what to destroy, and other times you can't, it's just hidden. You have to get lucky and run into the wall and shoot it. You can find bombs in the different areas, you can find upgrades to your weapon, or coins even, which you can use to buy upgrades along the way. You run into these terminals every now and again, and if you press the action button, you'll get options. This one also has a really great jump. The longer you hold the jump button, the higher you're going to jump. It's not an unlimited jump, of course, but there's definitely a difference between a standard jump and a longer jump. You can also pick up a secondary weapon after a while, which you can only hold one, but it's nice to have. It has a finite amount of ammunition, but you can pick up clips along the way. Truthfully, it does more damage compared to your regular weapon, and some of them have different sort of spreads, so it's useful to have one. It's also useful to become comfortable switching to this alternate weapon as you need it. You don't just want to turn it on and go run everything down. You basically need to know what angles you can shoot with the new weapon. It's definitely useful for bigger enemies. Like I said, more damage, and some of them have a different spread, so it's very useful. So it's a science fiction run and gun game here, although running and gunning is actually a bad idea sometimes. You can direct your offensive fire all around, but it's a little harder to do this when you're actually running. You get into certain situations where that just doesn't work. So if you press the action button and then fire, you can basically toggle between either running and gunning or being stationary and gunning. You'll need to practice this, and it's certainly going to help in some areas if you do. You can also pick up a Mega Bomb. These are bombs that you find from time to time, and they're really good to use them, especially when you're in some sort of a mess of a situation. You don't want to be using these randomly because they're limited, but you also want to remember that you actually have one, so when you get into those situations, you're able to use it to get yourself free of something. Overall, I have to say this is certainly not an easy game, by no means. I played this one for, 4 or 5 hours by now, and I've gotten through almost 2 levels. I don't know, it's difficult. This one really just makes you pay attention, and it makes you have to start to memorize the levels. I guess this is like you would with if you were playing a Castlevania, I suppose. You have to memorize what's coming at you in what areas, or how the transition of the level is supposed to go, where you jump, what the timing is supposed to be, that sort of stuff. Once you sort of memorize where these things are, you'll work out your offense and your timing a little better. I have to say this is a really nice run and gun game, and it's kind of a shame that it didn't release way back when it was originally being developed. It is certainly better than a ton of Genesis games from back in the day. I think if this released back then, it would have done fantastic, assuming it came out the way it came out now. I know they had to do a little bit of extra development to get this ready to ship, but I still think it would have been a fantastic addition to the game collection back then. The fact that I got this game as a free pack-in with the Mega SG, I think that's absolutely fantastic. What a great addition to have to that system. It helps make that particular purchase totally worthwhile. Well, that's all I have today for Ultracore for the Sega Genesis. Thanks for stopping by to take a look, and I'll catch you on another video.